Hey there, my name's Paul and this is Out of Neutral, a weekly tune-up where we look to the Bible to get in gear and follow Jesus into the life he came to make possible. Today I want to talk about what to do when your prayers aren't getting through. We've all had times when we've lain awake, overwhelmed by life's pressures. Life is harder than we'd like it to be, and sometimes the usual ways we seek comfort in God fall flat. In Psalm 77, a worship leader named Asaph is honest in addressing that reality and describing what we can do to push through the challenges. First, seek God even when help doesn't come easily. Asaph was experiencing what he calls the day of his trouble. We don't know whether this involved a relational conflict, a personal grief, or an illness that was plaguing him. But he cried out to God and sought him in prayer. Even still, his soul refused to be comforted. Nothing brought him relief or peace. He moaned in desperation and felt spiritually worn out by it all. If the psalm was written by someone of lesser stature than Asaph, we might just assume that he was doing it wrong. But his struggles normalize the challenges of prayer and invite us to follow his example in continuing to seek God in the darkness. Help doesn't always come easily or instantly, even to the people of God. That's why Jesus urges us to continue to ask, seek, and knock for the door to be opened. Number 2, be honest with your questions and keep looking to his word for answers. When we're confronted with a crisis, it can easily become a crisis of faith. Easy answers are tested and superficial beliefs need to be clarified. Fearing hard questions only adds to their power. Asaph's stress is so great that he can't speak, and it feels like the Lord is holding his eyelids open, keeping him from sleep. He says, "Let me remember my song in the night," and tries to reflect on worship songs that once brought him comfort. This time, they don't. He starts asking the kinds of questions that we often feel in those times. Will this ever end? Has God's love run out? Are his promises over? Is he so angry that he can't show mercy anymore? Asking questions like these help us to wrestle through our doubts until we come to a deeper understanding of the nuances in God's promises, the complexity in his character, and the limitations in our own trust. Finally, reflect on what God has done, not what he hasn't. Asaph's turning point comes when he chooses to reflect on God's past acts of deliverance. When stress is high, we can obsess over our problems and complain about what God hasn't done. But reviewing the history of God's working anchors us in his faithfulness. Asaph reflected on God's holiness, his greatness, and the many ways he delivered God's people. As he did, he remembered the Exodus and how the people were trapped by the Red Sea on one hand and Pharaoh's army on the other. It was when things seemed at their worst that God rescued them, and he did so right through the sea that threatened their destruction. As Christians, we similarly look back to the cross where God worked salvation in what looked like it might be the ultimate defeat. God's past faithfulness gives us confidence to trust his future faithfulness and wait on him when help doesn't come quickly. When your prayers don't feel like they're getting through, don't give up. Faith doesn't walk by sight. Keep seeking the Lord. Be honest with your questions, but bring them to Scripture and look to God for answers. Remember what God has done in the past to give you hope as you wait on him to act. Feelings will change, but God hasn't. That's all for this time. If today's video has helped you get out of neutral, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to join us on the journey.